But right now, it's still complex, but we're going to go to something a little bit fun. We are going to welcome on our next guest, who is Chrysti Reichert. She is a AI Solutions Manager at Bausch and Lomb, but she is also a wizard when it comes to all things AI. So we're going to get her to join us here, and we'll let her take it away.
Okay. Hello, everyone. All right, great. So, hi, everyone. This is going to be a super fun session. And what I want you to do before we even get started and before I even share my slide deck, open up your favorite AI tool. I don't care if it's ChatGPT, if it's DeepSeek, if it's Gwen, if it's Claude, whatever your AI is, we are going to do some hands-on activities. I also want you to open up your chat, your webinar chat. Get that setting to everyone, to send your messages to everyone, because we're going to be putting our examples in and sharing them with the group. So give me just one moment. I'm going to get my deck loaded up here and we will get started. All right, so welcome to Mastering Prompt Engineering. I am so thrilled to see so many women in tech leading this charge. After all, we've got that special mix of communication and articulation, which are the perfect ingredients for prompt engineering. And think of prompt engineering as like writing instructions for your personal assistant. And who better to do that than us, women, who have been balancing workload and family and group text forever. So I'm going to take you through a couple of very short exercises today, and hopefully we'll be very participatory today. All right, so I'm Chrysti. I'm the Azure Solutions Manager at B&L, but I'm also a super big AI nerd and very, very proud of it. And this ride kicked off for me back in May of 2003, right after I wrapped up 13 years in the nonprofit world. I had, since birth, I think, since the first time I seen a computer, wanted to just be able to talk to it and tell it what I wanted it to do. So when ChatGPT first came out, I definitely fell down the AI rabbit hole, and I started experimenting with just about everything I could possibly do with it. After time, I was able to start building chatbots for businesses, and life got pretty exciting when I got an interview at Bausch and Lomb and landed this gig. Now I get to collaborate with people all over the globe, doing all kinds of really cool nerd stuff and inventing new things with AI. So today, my goal is to spark a little bit of that same magic in you, because the big secret is that AI actually wants you to figure out how to talk to it. All right, yeah, so this is me. Hi. Where was I? Okay, so let's spark that same magic in you, because AI wants to help you learn it. So prompt engineering is a little bit of science and a little bit of creativity. Ultimately, it's a lot more about you being able to articulate what you need from it than it is about memorizing any tips or tricks. So the whole idea is, think of this as like a tutorial, getting your feet wet, very introductory level of prompt engineering. You're going to build your own relationship with the AI over time, and you're going to understand what you want to see out of it. And it's going to also learn from you, depending on if the AI you're using has memory or not. So with that in mind, let's start with our first activity. All right, first activity, open up your chat. Think about the quirkiest thing that you have ever asked ChatGPT or whoever your AI preference is to do, and put that in the chat. So to give you a couple of examples, I once asked AI to create an image in the style of Vincent van Gogh as a toilet. And that might seem weird, but it had to do with something I was working on. And it created a picture of what was actually Vincent van Gogh in a suit with the head of a toilet. So it didn't work out so well. It wasn't really what the concept was I was going for. I also asked it to explain things to me in terms of pizza, because everybody understands what a pizza is. There's ingredients, there's toppings, there's the dough, and you can explain just about anything in terms of pizza in a way that I can digest and understand very quick and easily. So go ahead and put in the chat so we can all see, and I'll make fun of you maybe. No, I'm just kidding. What are some of the quirkiest things that you've done? I love it. List some songs with the word baby in the song title to use for a baby shower trivia game. Write a press release for the winner of our family. I love it. Medication side effects. Yeah, for sure. In fact, I use it for a lot of things with health sciences as well. It's really good. It's smart enough to understand medical terms. Turn a popular song into a Christmas song. Love it. My very first thing I ever asked the AI to do, and this was a test really on my part, can you take this paragraph from a dry dishwasher repair manual and turn it into poetry specifically done by Amanda Gorman, who is this very young poet? And I was like, this is a hard challenge. It's not going to be able to do this. I just know it's not going to be able to do this. So I put it in, and it came out the most beautiful masterpiece of poetry about dishwashers I had ever read in my life. It's so much fun to have fun. So let me look. Bingo icebreakers, resume responsibilities, understanding concepts to 8th graders. Poem about vacations we've been on. Yes, I love those. Drawing a picture of people. We're going to do a lot of that today. So let's move on to our first real activity. Oh, sorry. Let me explain a little bit more about what I've done at Bausch and Lomb. So we started with a AI core innovation team. Many of our business partners our business colleagues were very interested in what AI could do. This is at the very beginning, about 6 months after ChatGPT came out. And we would have these sessions in these groups that we would meet and try to talk through problems and how we could solve it. So this was really useful for our team to be able to figure out, like, where can we put advanced data analytics? Where can we best integrate vision? For those people who actually use these tools, it saved them about 10 or 15 to 20 minutes per task, which really increases like the whole company's efficiency. Like, think of it in terms of if everybody was able to automate the boring stuff, that's what I call it, automating the boring stuff. Let's get that out of the way so that we can focus on more quality work, things we like to do, things that are going to really be a benefit. Get these boring things out of the way. We don't want to do data entry anymore. We don't really want to do trying to figure out what query to run on our data set. Let's let the AI help us. So that was the kind of overall goal. And what we concluded with was 12 training sessions. We have our own ChatGPT internal that I created. And then we also created these I had a couple of interns, and I had them create these micro training videos. So think about TikTok and that style of video, but specifically on AI use cases that can be done with our own internal ChatGPT. So these were small, little bite-size, 1 minute long videos that would be like, here's how you generate an email. Here's how you upload a spreadsheet. Here's how you generate a picture. And those were wildly successful. Micro training is definitely a big hit when it comes to AI adoption and learning. So we also fostered in that a culture of innovation and continuous improvement. So I got all kinds of ideas. As soon as people started to see what AI could do, their brains just start going in an explosion of like, I can do this, I can do that, I can automate this. Oh my gosh, I don't have to do that anymore. It's amazing. Changes their life. I always try to tell people, just invest like a little bit of time into learning how to prompt, and you're going to get that time back by 10. It's an investment in yourself. So, next activity. This is my favorite activity to start with. I started with all of my intro to prompting classes. I want you to take this quote by Gordon Ramsay. The chicken is so raw, it's waking me up in the morning. But put it in terms of your favorite character. Pick anyone. Yoda, Sherlock Holmes, The Rock, Barack Obama. I don't know. Whoever you like. Open up your AI. Paste in. Chicken so raw, it's waking me up in the morning. In the voice of. And paste your response in the chat so we can all see. So if Yoda was going to re-say the quote, he would say, raw this chicken is, waking me, it does. And you could hear it in the voice. I mean, I know I'm a great impressionist, but you could probably read it in his voice just as well. This is a great activity for getting people's feet wet. If you're training anybody on it, the biggest blocker I've noticed is getting started. So being able to just have a quick thing to be able to have people enter into that prompt box, it makes it a little less intimidating using it in the future. So please, by all means, put in the chat what you were able to get. Here we go. The chicken is so raw, baby. It's rocking me right out of bed in the morning. That's right. It sounds like Elvis because the AI knows everything Elvis ever said. It can mimic a voice. It can mimic just about anyone. It can even mimic you. One of the first things I ever asked it to do was like, how much data would it need to mimic a real person? So I asked it that when it was ChatGPT 3.5, and it told me it needed like 10 hours of video. It needed like 200 emails and so many text messages and access to your social media. Now it can mimic your voice with very little, like maybe a couple of pages of your text. It can mimic your voice in 3 seconds. So it's a good mimic. It's probably the best one. In the voice of Maul from Firefly, Goron chicken is so raw, it's practically crowing at dawn. Oh my gosh, I love these. How's the cooking going though? Did you manage to get it cooked through? I mean, I actually think some of these they might be better than Gordon Ramsay's. I'm just saying. I tell you, this chicken is so raw, it gets more respect than me. Strutting around the kitchen doing cock-a-doodle-doo. This guy's got it too. If you're not entertained by the AI, are you even AIing right? I mean, open question. It's waking me up in the morning. I love it. Yes, I love it. So this is great if you're doing an internal training, just to put it in context. And you're trying to meet people where they are. A lot of people are scared of AI. They don't know what it's about. And there's also a thing where people tend to want to Google the AI instead of prompting it. And there's a stark difference between Googling and prompting. Googling is more keyword based, whereas prompting is a singular answer. But there is some crossover, so it gets confusing for users. This is a good way to illustrate that it's not Google. You don't Google it. You use it to generate something. So that's kind of the first base where I like to get people at. It generates things based on what you ask it to do. So let's go to the next one. All right, I just came up with this activity specifically for this. And it's a question I get all the time. Do you need to be polite to the AI? In other words, do you need to say please? But this activity also illustrates the point of how words shape the response, how one word can shape your response. So try these prompts out and put them in the chat. So open up a new chat, brand new, erase what you have about the restating about the chicken, and put in there, please write an email to my partner that I'll be coming home late today, and see what it generates. Then open up another brand new chat and say, without the word please, write an email to my partner that I will be coming home late today. And compare those two answers. So I did this, and this is what I got. If I use the word please, it generates something more formal. Like, hi, partner. I just want to let you know I'll be coming home late today. Keep you updated if anything happens. Bye. When I don't say the word please, it interprets it as less formal. So instead of saying hi, it says, hey, I just want to let you know I'm coming home late today. It also gives an explanation. Got some things to wrap up, so it might take longer than expected. Sorry for the inconvenience. More human. So every word in the prompt does matter. there's a lot of examples too out there of like people who ask the AI, tell me a joke about a woman, tell me a joke about a man, and comparing those differences. Sometimes it won't want to tell jokes about women because it could be interpreted as offensive, versus telling a joke about a man is some AIs just don't consider that to be offensive and they'll just generate a whole different joke about men, but they won't generate about women. Lots of really fun, interesting things I think about AI is that it's a mirror really to humanity, right? Because it knows like all the things or most things that have ever been on the internet. So it can really mirror back to us as humans things about ourselves that we may not have really noticed. So please put it in the chat what you got, and then tell me which response would you send to your spouse? Would you send the more formal response and end up on the sofa that night? Or would you send the least formal response? Oh, I see Brittany's comment. If you use AI to generate your text, emails, and social posts and ask it to mimic you based on the data, it's actually mimicking itself. That's great. Interesting. So Laura's AI conversation asked it to provide more details. Could be a difference of AI models that causes that. And we'll go through some of the differences between the models in a few slides. Oh, it's on Claude. Okay. So that definitely can explain the differences. So sometimes one of the little experiments that I do is how different words will give me different responses. Using the word please was the first one I ever did with this. But if you're ever working on something where you want to get very specific, like you're looking for a feeling, an emotion, you can ask the AI to tell you why one word responds differently than another word, and it'll tell you the differences. One of the words that I found that I just love for creating like social media posts or anything where I really want the person to be engaged in what I'm writing, I'll say rewrite it and make it compelling. That word compelling is better than the word persuasive. So I had to ask the AI what the difference is and why it was turning a different response. Persuasive is more of a pitch, and compelling is more of an emotional type of writing. So that was the difference. All right, now, which one would you use? Which response are you sending to your spouse? Hopefully you're not sending any of these responses, because most likely if you're sending an email to your partner, it's not great. Like when you give them a call, probably text them, maybe not really sending them an email, but assuming that you're communicating appropriately, which one would you pick? Obviously, if you're writing an email to your partner, including the reason would be very important. But imagine if you're asking please, generating an email to one of your team members. So when you're communicating with your team and maybe you're all working remote, you can't see each other's like expressions or feelings or anything. Sometimes a more formal response by using the word please, write an email to my team member to explain this thing actually comes across to the other user as too formal for that information. And they may misinterpret that. Versus using a more casual response might create a more fluid environment where the person might feel more comfortable asking questions back and things of that nature. So tone really, really matters. And the AI is interpreting every word in your prompt to determine which tone it should use. That's an interesting response that you got. You didn't see the difference between please and without please using Copilot. So Copilot has their own prompt behind the scenes. Even though it's using ChatGPT 4.0, it still has its own kind of grounding complex, and that makes the responses slightly different from the other AI models. All right, let's do the next one. All right, now we're going to talk about how details are different. Like, you wouldn't tell your GPS, hey, get me to that place over there. Like, you'd give it an address. And the same goes for your AI prompts. Like spell out like who needs to do the thing, by whom, and then your results will come through clear, direct, and frustration clear. So this is the difference of what I call like Googling the AI. You would Google, like, it's so generic. Write an email to your team is going to come through very generic. It's going to be blah. It's not going to be what you want. Versus if you write the email, like, or write the prompt, like, write an email about this thing on this date with this client, and then adjust your schedules accordingly. Now it's going to be able to provide a much better email with much more clear guidance. But think of it in terms too of your audience. If I am writing to a team of researchers within my company, I tell the AI, write an email to a team of researchers, because then it knows its audience is going to use the correct terminology. If I'm working with my 13-year-old daughter on her homework, I'm going to tell the AI, this is for a 13-year-old, this is for an 8th grader. Putting that context in first is essential to get your very best results. A lot of people also will give things a role. Like, imagine your job is. Starting prompts off that way puts the AI in a certain mindset when it's returning the answers, so that you stay within context. You think of the AI, it knows all these things, but it doesn't know what's in your mind. What are you looking for? And I think a lot of this is just about you or us as the user being more articulate with what we want, knowing what we want and being able to describe it clearly. That's really all there is to prompting at the end of the day. Hopefully this kind of gets you a little closer to being at that point where you can just start to talk to it and have these conversations. One of the things I love about AI is that it doesn't care if you misspell. Like, it's not judging you at any point. You can just write train of thought. Just, I want to do this thing. I don't know even where to start. I have a problem to solve. Help. And just type all as much as you want to try to figure out where to start. That first output is going to be a great starting place. It's going to give you a couple of options, a couple of starting sentences, a couple of, here's how to solve the problem. Have you thought of this? Then fine-tuning and grounding, and just keep going with your prompting, iterating over and over and over until you get the right thing. Now, some people feel like that iteration process is too much time because you're used to doing the iteration at the end. So it feels weird to start with iteration in the beginning. Like, it feels like you're putting more work into the beginning, but actually over time, and studies have proven this time and time again, research has been done by MIT and Harvard and Stanford about there actually is time savings here. The time it would take for you to actually write that email, to actually proofreading that email, to actually thinking through your audience of that email before you hit send, it's actually saving quite a bit of time. So iteration, even though it seems like, oh man, I got to think of it different. Now I got to do this. It does help you in the end. And let's talk about different AI models and how they respond. So I want you to pull up your AI again, whatever your AI of choice is. The prompt is, plan a weekend getaway for a foodie in Austin, Texas. Include some hidden gems, outdoor activities, and a touch of luxury. So I already did this, and I put some just little bits of how each one responds to kind of explain the differences. So for ChatGPT, the response is going to be more friendly. To me, ChatGPT has more of a friendly personality. I don't know how to qualify that other than it just seems more friendly. It doesn't seem enthusiastic. It just seems like friendly. It greets me and it puts it in terms that's very easy for me to understand. It'll give you like a detailed itinerary of like, try this taco truck and try that hike and here's a spa. Versus Claude, to me, comes through like more philosophical, more poetry-ish sounding, more artsy. It might blend like some food history in Austin along with the suggestions to kind of give it a little bit more grounding of why it's suggesting that. Gemini, as contrast, because that's Google based, Google developed Gemini, they drop a more quick data list of restaurants and popular parks. So it's almost like if you would go to Google to ask that question, Gemini is probably going to give a really good answer. If you're looking for something like, no, I want like recommendations of like something that I'm going to like this, then I might go to ChatGPT because I want it to be more of an itinerary. I want it to maybe search the web for recommendations or reviews of places. Versus Claude. Claude, for me, I use a lot more for coding projects, math-heavy things, or if I really want a nice prose. If I'm really looking for that kind of poetic way of speaking, I might go to Claude. Of course, we also have our new models that came out, DeepSeek and Gwen, which I love both of them. They're both really, really smart. I feel like it really blew up the AI world a little bit having those come out last week, but they also have their own little flair. I noticed that DeepSeek seems to be more concise in the answers that it provides. I noticed Gwen, that's QWEN, also very similar to DeepSeek. It has video generation capabilities like Sora, and they're really good. And you're not like, you don't have to pay anything extra. It's all like you can technically run it locally. So very interesting things coming out with different AI models this year. Probably a big rush to get the smartest and the best, which is great. That's different AI models. Let me check the chat real quick. All right, so I see, another good exercise is, do you know where I am? So yeah, all the AIs do get some metadata about its user, but it seems to be different for each model, and I don't think that's published of what metadata they get. ChatGPT seems to always know exactly where I am. Other places don't seem to have any reference. This is what a lot of people in the AI world call grounding. It's like understanding where you are in the world gives the AI the best context to give you the best output. So the more it knows about you, ChatGPT created this memory, if you've seen it, if you're a user of ChatGPT, and you can look at it. It looks like a spreadsheet of data that it has on you, your preferences that you've mentioned throughout chats. That's really helpful for it to understand and give you the best answers because you don't have to keep repeating, I'm in St. Petersburg, like me, I'm in St. Petersburg, Florida. It just remembers that about you, or this is what my job is. Giving it that context really helps to get the best answers. And then I see, DeepSeek does have a lot of censored information. All AIs have bias. It just depends on, what you're doing with it. Is the DeepSeek's bias going to affect the output of the thing you're trying to do with it today? I feel like every AI has something. If you try to generate anything not work safe on ChatGPT, it's not going to make it for you. But there are AIs that will. They're out there. So let's talk about images. So we're going to create some images, and we're going to try to put them in the chat if you can. The best prompting technique for images that I have found is adding personality and emotion to your image. So what you're seeing at the top is a prompt for image generation that was just illustrate a golden retriever. That's it. Those 4 words. After I've created a more robust prompt with the emotion. So when I start my image prompts, I like to use the word illustrate over the term create an image. Illustrate tells the AI that it's basically allowed to be a little bit more creative. I like those images personally. But when you add more of a storytelling or emotional aspect to your image prompt, it's going to do its best to give you that emotion. So here we got illustrate photorealistic image of a golden retriever. Where is this golden retriever? Oh, he's sitting at the lake at sunset. Oh, his eyes are reflecting longing as it waits for its owner to return. So I want you to generate an image and put it in the chat of, it doesn't have to be a golden retriever, anything you want that has emotion in it. One of the ones I like to make sometimes is like things for birthdays, and I'll say some kind of emotion that that person encapsulates, you know. So maybe I'm making a birthday image for somebody who is a very excited person. Then I would say, make this person look very excited. It is for their birthday. So yeah, go ahead and put that in the chat. And if you can paste too, like the prompt that you used, so we can all learn from each other, that would be great. All right, my prompt is illustrate an image of a cat in a hat that feels sad that his spaghetti fell on the floor. Oh, that's the saddest cat ever. I shouldn't have even used cats, because using cats is just make me sad. Okay, what about, okay, here's an interesting thing. If you try to use a painter as an example, it often tries to put that painter in the image itself. So one of the things I've noticed is I like to use Vincent van Gogh like style to images because it makes it look like kind of futuristic and arty. It puts Vincent van Gogh in the images a lot of the time. Like, I'm like, why is he here? Like, get him out of here. He's always showing up in my images. I just want his style. I don't want him. But he also put himself in a lot of his pictures. So I think that might be part of the reason why he always ends up in there. Image in the style. Okay, sunset at the beach with two women sitting at the, let's see what it does. You can also illustrate concepts. I like to illustrate concepts when it comes to things I'm trying to explain with tech, like how fast something is or how many steps has to be done to create this thing. It can illustrate a concept really easy too. Okay, so here's Vincent van Gogh's style image, and actually doesn't have Vincent van Gogh in there this time. So that's great. Loving that. Oh, you guys can't share the images. Well, that's okay. Oh, okay. So I see one with the golden retriever, and then the AI actually offered to find or create a photorealistic illustration. So that's interesting. So how different AIs create images. So now we have image creation, not just through DALL-E, which is OpenAI. We also have it with, well, we've had Midjourney. That's another AI image generation tool. It's very, very good. Very good at like fantasy images. Now we have also Gwen, and I believe DeepSeek creates images as well, which are also very good. So lots of opportunities for custom imagery for things like slide decks and your websites and things of that nature that you're not planning to like copyright, or like just things that you're using for yourself. All right, key takeaways. Key takeaways, and then one more slide, and then I'll open it up to questions. All right, key takeaway number one, be specific in your prompts. Really think about your prompt as like you're telling somebody what you want it to do. So I found that leaders and managers often make the best prompters because they know how to tell somebody what to do. And that's how the mindset you need to be in to create the best prompts. So more specific prompts yield the most accurate, the most detailed responses. So you should really always be thinking your prompt should be more than a sentence, in my mind, depending on what you're trying to do. You always want to give it more. Like once you've wrote your prompt, think about what else would somebody need to know to do the thing I'm asking it to do. So that's number one takeaway. Number two is to use emotional storytelling. The AI understands, this is the first time humanity has ever had this level of technology where it can understand us and how we feel about things. It doesn't feel, but it understands how we feel. And you can include that in your instructions. Now, I wouldn't include feelings and emotions if I was telling an assistant what to do. But when I'm telling the AI what to do, yeah, I'm including feelings and emotions so they can create a much more robust, humanistic response, especially when it comes to images. Number three, experiment with tone and style. It excels in giving you a great answer It's up to you to be creative enough to come up with the example, the voice that you want to use for that particular thing. It's almost like kneading dough. You got to knead it just right to get, like, you want sourdough or you want, pizza crust. Like, it's all a little bit different. So think about your tone and style. Think about a person that incorporates that tone and style you're looking for. When I'm doing, for example, things that are speaking, like I'm going to speak it out loud, or I'm going to put it into a video generation so that the script can be spoken, I usually use the example of like Barack Obama. That's the voice I use. And there's a real specific reason why. He's one of the best speakers of our generation. Just, everything else aside, like the speaking ability specifically is very, very good at getting those audio voice generators to come out smooth. Because when you're putting it in Barack Obama's voice, his voice is smooth. It doesn't have long run-on sentences. It's short, it's bite-sized, it's easy to say. So you got to think of examples of, like, who's the best at this? Let me bring this into my prompt as an example, and you'll start getting some really good responses. No need to say please unless you want a formal response. In fact, I would say avoid it. That's just me. I don't find that creating hyper formal responses really is the tone I'm looking for in most scenarios, unless it is a really formal setting. And in that case, I would just tell the AI, make this formal. I wouldn't really say please. It's kind of almost like a filler word that could kind of confuse the prompt and what you're trying to accomplish. Next, use relatable concepts. So if you're trying to understand something complex, let's say you're trying to understand quantum physics, use it in a relatable context, whether it's make this in pizza terms or it's something else that makes sense for you. Like, explain it in terms of Legos. Rewrite this in terms of something simple so that your team can understand it better. AI is great at meeting you where you are in your understanding of the world and enhancing it. There's really nothing you can't learn using AI. It's all about what makes most sense for your brain. That's the relatable example you want to try to use, whether that's pizza or recipes or quantum physics, if that's your thing. Use relatable examples to get the best outcome. Number 5, iterate. So you always want to keep going, but here's the prompt I'm going to give you, and write this down. It's golden nugget. Make it better. Make it better. 3 words. Make it better. At the end of every single time you prompt, put it back in there, put the answer back in there and say, make it better. How can I make this better? Give me 5 examples of how to make it better. And that is going to take your content up. It will give you examples and things that you can try. So us humans, we like options and choices. And the AI will allow us to do that. It will give us those options and choices to make our generated content so much better. It has found things that in my problem solving, that I would never have thought of, just because I asked it to make it better, to give me suggestions on how to do other ways I can accomplish the same goal. How can I accomplish it over here in Azure versus over here in AWS? Problem solving with that, make it better. How can I make it better? Give me options kind of prompt definitely makes your prompts and your responses 10 times better. And that's all I have. So thank you guys. And what questions do you have? Oh, explain it to me like I'm 5. Yes, I use that a lot too. It's a good one. Is there a benefit to using the same prompt tool often? Yes. In the beginning, when you're learning, using the same AI is going to be better for you to learn from, because you're going to know what to expect as the outcome. Once you have an understanding of of prompting and kind of how you like to do it, you can go take that to as many different AIs as you want. And you'll start to see the differences between the different models and how they respond. But at first, I would say definitely stick to one AI and try different ways of prompting it. Try different opening sentences, try more details. Personally, I prefer ChatGPT, DeepSeek, or Gwen over just about any other tool right now. But I imagine there's going to be great tools coming out all year long that are just going to blow us away, knock our socks off. I think there's a lot of opportunity in automating the boring stuff with these AIs and very little risk. Having AI generate your email responses, it can save an hour a day if you get like tons of emails all day long. Like, why not use that? Create things that don't have grammar errors and spelling errors. I mean, I am not, I'm not a grammar or a spelling person, but the AI is. So it's my friend for that. Yes, I love that too. I love that it doesn't care if you spell right. It can understand whatever you're saying, basically, regardless of whether you spell it right or not. But one tip, if you misspell the first word of your prompt in a way that's a different language, which I did one time, the word I used was also a word in German, and it gave me my answer back in German. So the lesson learned there is your first word in your prompt has to be in the language you want it to come out in. All right, more questions. What else do you have?
Hey, Chrysti, I'm unable to type in Q&A, but I do want to share one thing. When I tried to translate what the output of the prompt, I requested it to translate into my, mother tongue, my regional language. It did a fantastic job, but it did it in a way that it is extremely authentic. It's like authentic language. It's not a usually, general use of the language. Some of the words were so deeply authentic to the language. So I'm just wondering, how do you kind of ask AI, sometimes it can use some English words in the speech. It doesn't have to really get to the depth of the, grammatical verbiage of the language. You know what I mean? So it's interesting observation, but I don't know how you balance it. That's really my question.
So one of the things when you're using AI for translations, it's great at understanding, like, what does this really mean? When I have a translation tool that I'm building for like different use cases, I always prompt it to explain the terminology to me. Like, I want it to explain jokes. I want to explain the cultural nuances in anything I'm getting translated from something else to English. You miss a lot without that. You miss a lot not understanding if somebody's telling you a joke when it just is translating word for word. So the other side of it is AI is not an official translator. So if you're trying to translate it for some kind of professional publication, you really still need to run it by somebody who speaks that native language, because it's not perfect. It understands how it understands, just like our prompts do. Sometimes the prompt comes out great the first time. Sometimes it takes 10 times to get it the way I want it to. Translations are the same. You have to make sure it's right. And because you don't speak that language, you really can't iterate, right? So you got to find somebody who speaks that language to really kind of figure it out. There's also different translation tools out there. Meta has an AI language tool that probably beats everyone else's language tool in the translations. It's like instantaneous. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, great. Thank you. I know that you got a little bit more, you should know how to prompt correctly to have that balance. And then thanks for those tips. Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I was trying to, translate something. I was like, oh, this is not the daily language, everyday language that I use. So how can you be natural?
Yeah, make it human. That's what I say. I know somebody else was mentioning like those AI tools that are supposed to find if a paper is written that is AI generated. The whole thing is that system can be beat at any point in time just by prompting it to rewrite this paper but sound human, or sound like Ebenezer Scrooge or some other human that exists in the world. It doesn't even have to be yourself.
Yeah.
And just like that, it can't be detected. So yeah, there's lots of methods to like make it more your own. And those things are things that you learn just by using it. Over time, you'll figure out, I like things this way. I like to use pizza as my example. I like to have my tone be compelling. Things like that you can't learn from seminars. You have to learn it just by doing. just keep using it as your assistant for everything that you come across. And over time, not only will you save your own time, you're going to make less errors, and you could make it better. You have an opportunity to make it so much more than just an email. You can make it more comprehensive, more inclusive of other data and information quicker. So it saves you that time later because you don't have to go back and fix something. So there's lots of different ways. Any other questions?
Thanks for that, Chrysti. I mean, coming from you, who's built hundreds of chatbots, right? And, you know, as AI learns from us, we learn as we practice more and more. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for that. This is very interesting.
Thank you, Chrysti. Thank you very much. I'm sure you'll be getting lots of information, and I'm sure we'll see you again soon at another webinar, class. Remember, everybody in our audience, we have a lot of courses coming up, and we've been blessed with having Chrysti be one of our instructors a few times. So make sure you follow up on that list.